India is actually, in many ways, a great, very positive case study, in large part due to the talent pool. But I was at a dinner with a number of Indian founders and venture capitalists last night, and the stat was, I think, there are more consumer AI companies in India, consumer AI startups in India, than in the United States.
Let's start with data, and what would your advice be there, and then we'll broaden it out a little bit.
Yeah, there is data is so important. And I think over the past few years, many people have, I think, realized this as we sort of look at the power of these models and we look behind the curtains, and you realize that all of the powers imbued to these models are actually imbued by data. And if you think about, data as like in some ways this sort of new oil, this sort of like base material that is incredibly important for the future of AI and the development of these models, then I think as like governments should think about what are their reserves, what are their data reserves, what are their data assets, and to in many ways build strategies where they have sovereignty over some set of data, or they're able to build certain pockets of data sets that enable the country to perform the best. I think one of the areas the two areas that are clearest for this are, one is healthcare. I think many countries already are, and other countries need to be thinking, I think, about very effective mechanisms for healthcare data within the country to enable, ultimately over time, there to be AI models and AI agents that are built on top of that to deliver better health services to their citizens. And then the second is national security. And I think that is, in many ways, pretty self-explanatory, but I think, countries need to be thinking about that quite deeply as to what are their sort of like core data assets. Then I think if you sort of build around data and you look at the next few layers, the next one is infrastructure. So, we think about the power, the computational infrastructure, and what does that story look like? I don't think every country needs to build large-scale AI data centers in their country, but they do need to have a strategy of, over time, how are they going to have access to that infrastructure? And so whether this is in the form of alliances of various formats or partnerships, even with corporate entities, the large cloud providers, I think that's an important element to think through. Then comes, I think, the sort of the innovation ecosystem. I do think that we're in a moment of momentous technological change, and it is, I think, incredibly important I think there is near boundless entrepreneurial and economic opportunity, and I think it is the responsibility of governments and countries to think through how they can build ecosystems that support that. I think India is actually, in many ways, a great, very positive case study, in large part due to the talent pool. But I was at a dinner with a number of Indian founders and venture capitalists last night, and the stat was, I think, there are more consumer AI companies in India, consumer AI startups in India, than in the United States. And so there really are some of these shining examples of incredible development of these ecosystems.